Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Just let everyone get in and get settled real quick. Awesome. So thanks so much for being here today. We want to welcome you to Rackham Graduate School and University of Michigan. Excited to have you here. I am Kelly Dowd. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I work in the professional development engagement team here in Rackham with our formally DEI, but culturally competent humility programming. And I want to introduce our speaker today. She's from the Career Center, Anna Wagner. And she's here to talk about professional development, specifically for master's students, and going to help you along on your journey. And so I'm going to turn it over to Anna to get us started.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. And hey, y'all, thanks for being here. Welcome to Rackham. Excited to have you. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Anna. I use she, her pronouns as well. And I work for the University Career Center, but I am one of the folks who are embedded over in Rackham. So my full-time job is actually providing support for graduate students. So very excited to be chatting with you all today about professional development and what that looks like. So as people are logging in, I'd love for you to just quickly do some intros in the chat. If you could just share the program you're coming into. I think everyone is an incoming first year, but if you're not, feel free to tell us that. And then one word or maybe two words about how you feel about career development generally. So go ahead and just do a quick intro in the chat. Would love to see who's with us today. Thank you, Kelly. Oh, possibilities. That's a great word, Adi. Hey, Aaron, good to see ya. Flexible. Okay. I'm seeing a trend here. Some nice evolution. Hi, Yushi. Exciting, better opportunities, growth. These are all such positive words, y'all. This is great. Half the time when I ask this question, people are like depressing, awful, overwhelming, exhausting, which is also valid if that's your word. But it's nice to see some of these positive words coming in the chat as well. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm excited to channel some of this positivity as we jump into today's session. So just so you all are aware, some of our goals for today, we're going to talk about just sort of building your familiarity with some of the career resources that'll be available to you over the course of your master's program. And then just some activities to get your gears turning when it comes to your career development, as well as some actionable next steps. Um, so we kind of already asked this first question, so go ahead and skip that one. But I would love to hear if anyone has any specific questions you have about preparing for life after Rackham, which I know can sound sort of wild as you're just preparing for life starting at Rackham, but would love to hear about any questions you have or lingering thoughts. So see what I can address throughout today's conversation. Man, I'm looking through the chat still and seeing all these wonderful words. Lots of growth, which is a great mindset. Yeah, so navigating job hunting, preparing for industry, how to manage your studies, that transition from grad school to a career. Ooh, Claire, you're asking a great question that I'll just quickly answer about career development services available after graduation. And I can happily let you know that the University Career Center actually works with alumni up to 2 years after graduation. So you've got a nice wiggle room there. And then after that, the Alumni Association offers career counseling that's also available. So you have lifetime career coaching through Michigan just by being a part of the Michigan family. Yeah, good questions in here. I think we'll definitely tackle some of these as we go throughout. Um, so before we go any further, I did want to also mention that we have a lot of resources that are available to you to help with your career development throughout your time at Rackham here. So that QR code on the screen will take you to a resources doc. I think Danielle might also drop that link in the chat as well for you. And this is a doc that myself and my colleague Kirsten Elling keep up to date with all sorts of resources available for graduate students in their career development. Um, Lots of stuff from the UCC, lots of stuff from the Rackham side, other great folks from within your colleges and departments, lots of resources that are available to you. And that is kind of the joy of being at such a large, multifaceted institution is the answer is there's always a resource somewhere. So we can definitely get you the help and support that you need. Um, do like to highlight, thank you for dropping that chat in or that link in the chat, Danielle. I do like to highlight a couple of the things that the UCC offers for our master students. So we offer programs like this on a whole variety of career development topics, typically, honestly, like one a week over the course of the academic year. So definitely would love to see you at some future programs to talk about different things. But we also offer individual coaching appointments on a whole variety of topics, including reviewing your resume and cover letter, preparing for interviews, thinking about your job or internship search, networking, even down the line, negotiating offers that you might be receiving for internships or job offers. Um, I will say that we have folks on our team who specifically focus on master students. So you have lots of great resources available to you that are thinking about your experience as a master student specifically. So it's not just sort of that generic; it's very much in that graduate student zone. Two other resources that I like to highlight for folks, especially as you're coming in, that are free and available through the University Career Center. The first is our photo booth. So this is very easy to make an appointment online, and you can take professional style headshots to have on your LinkedIn or any other sort of digital presence for your professional profile. We make those available and really easy, and you can book as many appointments as you want. So if you need to do a couple outfit changes, we got you. Happy to make sure that we document all of that. Um, and then also really love to highlight our career closet. This is a free resource available to all U of M students. You are able to get up to 3 items of professional wear every single semester. And so that's things like blouses, dresses, pants, suit jackets, shoes, but we also have ties, different accessories, a whole bunch of other resources available. And like I said, you can do up to 3 a semester, which means keep coming back, right? Our inventory is constantly refreshing, and we've got lots of great options available to you. And you can also shop as many times as you want to in the semester. So even if you only find one item the first time you go, you could come back and find another item later as well. We know that professional wear can be really expensive, and grad school isn't cheap, right? So take advantage of the free resources where they have them. So all the links to all of those things and everything that you might need to book appointments, see the career closet, all of that is in that resource guide that's dropped in the chat. So definitely want to make sure that we highlight that for you all. Um, want to also highlight some specific resources that the UCC supports. The first is Handshake, which everyone can go ahead and make a Handshake profile. If you haven't yet, you can go ahead and activate yours at umich.joinhandshake.com. This is our on-campus job board for jobs and internships. It's constantly posting. We have thousands of employers who are active in Handshake who are recruiting for interns and for doctor or for full-time staff. Um, what I really appreciate about it is that you can add something like graduate student or master's as one of the search terms as you're looking at jobs and internships, right? So that you can find stuff that are trying to recruit specifically folks who are at that master's student level. So highly recommend going ahead and getting that activated. It is also where we post things like career fairs and other employer engagement events. And then there is a pretty functional active feed that you can see as well. And what's nice is that all of that is driven by their algorithm. So the more that you like companies that you're interested, the more that you save job or internship postings, the more customized your feed is going to be. Adik asked a great question in the chat about if you have a handshake from your undergraduate university, you're going to have to go ahead and activate your Michigan one. They do not unfortunately blend together. So you'll have to go and just activate that handshake account as well through Michigan. Um, Another resource that we also sponsor that can be really useful for your career development is the University Career Alumni Network, or UCAN for short. And you can make a free profile at umich.peoplegrove. And this is sponsored by the University Career Center. I essentially talk about it as like a baby LinkedIn because it is a social networking and connection platform with an opportunity to connect with willing alums, right? And I really underscore the willing portion of that, right? I think that We know that doing cold outreach and cold connection on LinkedIn can be a really effective way to get in touch with people. And not everyone's going to respond. Not everyone checks their messages regularly. Whereas everyone who has a profile through UCAN has opted in for the opportunity to support students in their career development and their networking. So, highly recommend you make a profile for UCAN sooner rather than later and go ahead and start reaching out and connecting with folks because it's never too early to build your professional network. Like I said, it has definitely also a higher response rate than LinkedIn, so that is also a big win as well. Um, so some of those resources in mind, I want to just sort of throw out this concept, right? Is that like career exploration is essentially a research project, right? So the same sort of research mindset that you apply to grad school, you can apply to your career exploration as well. I think that it can feel daunting sometimes. I know we talked a lot about growth and flexibility and possibilities, which is amazing. And where do you get started, right? So we start by approaching it the same way that you would approach any other sort of research endeavor. So start by defining the questions, right? When you're thinking about your career exploration, what questions do you want to learn more about? And the more specific that question is, the better the results are going to be too, right? When we ask big, broad questions, it's hard to know what the real answer is. When we ask nice, specific questions, we're able to get nice, specific answers. So you could be learning about career paths that alums from your program took. Maybe you want to learn more about what job titles fit your skill set. Maybe you want to learn more about what companies hire Rackham graduates or the industry landscape in a particular area, right? There's lots of ideas of how you might define that question for your career exploration. And so I want you to just sort of think about also the fact that you can ask more than one question, right? But try and get specific so that you can really pursue that as you're going through your career exploration endeavors. So, with that in mind, where do we go find the data to answer those questions, right? Where do we figure that out? UCAN and LinkedIn are definitely two of the really big ones, particularly as we're thinking about identifying like career paths, job titles, trends in industry. I'll highlight a little bit more about how to do that in just a second. Handshake is also a great place to see job postings, what different industries are doing. There's different great posts on there. Show up to the career fairs. Many departments host individual career fairs, but we also sponsor the university-wide job and internship fair in the fall and in the winter semesters. So there is both in-person and virtual components there. And we have employers who are specifically trying to recruit graduate students to their internships or their full-time positions. So definitely want to see you at some career fairs. Um, Other job posting sites, things like Indeed, are another good place to grab data. Are there other places that people have gone to explore career possibilities? Anything that you want to add in the chat for me? Yeah, department focused organizations and clubs. That's a great answer, right? Your fellow folks within your department, fellow students and peers are another great resource. Yeah, and Erin dropped a great link in the chat as well as another good resource for your career exploration. Awesome. Well, as other people have things to share, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to keep going just for the sake of time, too. So, if we talked about LinkedIn and UCAN as a really good resource for some of that data and how we find that, um, you can let's talk about how to use it, right? So when we're logging in there, right, start by trying to connect with your own circle, your peers, your colleagues, faculty, folks who are in your lab with you, folks who are in your cohort, folks who you're in class with, right? Like often people are like, oh, I didn't even think about the fact that my peers are also people I should be connected with because at the end of the day, in 3 or 4 years, you're all going to be coworkers in in your industry, right? So thinking about how you really leverage that resource available to you. And then on both of those sites, they host professional groups, such as field specific groups or alumni associations, where you can really identify lots of great opportunities to find people who have similar goals or similar backgrounds. LinkedIn in particular hosts a ton of really great groups. So you can be like, oh, I'm looking at electrical engineering, or I'm looking for folks who want to work at Intel, or I'm looking for folks who also went to Michigan for undergrad, right? Like lots of great resources available to you for different types of groups available. And go ahead and use that as a way to explore what people are doing, what's out there, what their job titles are, all of that good stuff. Um, and with both of these tools, we also recommend that you get in the habit of searching for connections regularly. Regularly does not mean every day. I do not need you to be a LinkedIn influencer. That's totally fine, right? But I feel like once a week or once every other week, get on there for an hour, play around, see what's out. What do you see in the feed? Are there people you should be connecting with? Just make a habit out of it because the goal of networking is really to make friends before you need it. And then we really love to highlight the alumni search tool on LinkedIn as a great resource for finding folks. So I want to showcase that in just a second. Um, Things we can do as we're looking, right? You can find someone with your dream job, see how they got there. You can research alumni with a similar background. You can follow up and connect with folks that you met with at a job or internship fair, at a networking event. Maybe you were just standing in line at a coffee shop, right? Like go ahead and send that connection request to be connected to folks. You can also use it to just get familiar with employers and the job titles that they use, right? So, one thing about industry, it's going to use 900 different versions of a title to talk about often the same type of job. So, learning just even what lingo to put into those job boards will be really helpful as you're thinking about your long term career exploration, too. And then go ahead and use these to set up informational interviews. We'll talk about more of those in just a second as well, but that's another great resource for LinkedIn and UCAN. So let's talk a little bit about the alumni search tool. This is, I think, like one of the hidden gems of LinkedIn that people don't always take advantage of. So if you are in LinkedIn and you go to the page for the University of Michigan, so like you search University of Michigan in the top bar, you go to the page, there's going to be a couple tabs across the top. The last one is alumni. And what this will do is it'll activate the database of the like 350,000 people on LinkedIn who currently or used to go to U of M. So part of why you go to U of M is to have access to this big, beautiful resource that is available in terms of our alumni network. But what I love about this is that you can then use this database as a way to explore those research questions, right? You could search a specific company, you could search a specific location, you could search a specific job title. Maybe you just want to put your program in there and see what people who have the same degree as you have now done with their career, right? Really using this as a very iterative research tool of plug in a couple of keywords, look at people's profiles, use that to gather information about, oh, they did this type of internship, or oh, this is what their job title was called at GM. I'm going to then use that data, plug that into the search tool, and see what I can find, right? So, really just trying to get a sense of what people have done and see how you resonate with it, of what could I do as well. Is a great way to really tap into that. Your alumni search tool is also a great way to identify folks who you might want to do informational interviews with, which is just a powerhouse tool when it comes to career exploration. Um, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes, right? Go ahead, even if you don't have an active LinkedIn account, which you should, but we can work with you on that. Um, and go to linkedin.com, search the University of Michigan, and play around in the alumni search tool for 5 minutes. See if you can identify one or two people that you think might be interesting to connect with. So I'll give you until 11:26 to do just a little bit of exploration. And if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat. I've seen a couple come through as well, so I'm going to go review those as we're doing this. Go ahead and take about 1 more minute for this first pass. Obviously, you have infinite amount of time to play around with this tool, but just for the sake of today. Righty. We're going to keep moving just for the sake of time, but I'd love for folks to just pick any Zoom reaction that you want. Sort of sum up what that process was like for you. Thumbs up, thumbs down, any of the myriad other options that are out there in terms of reactions. Just give me a quick bit of information about how that was for you. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs ups. Okay. We'll take it. Awesome. So I think like this is one of those tools that is just constantly available. There's always more to play with, right? So definitely recommend you spend some time playing around in the alumni search tool on LinkedIn and seeing folks who you might want to connect with. Um, but I keep referencing informational interviews, right? This is definitely one of the biggest ways that you might want to tackle your career exploration. So let's talk a little bit about what they are and how to do them, right? So now that you've played around with the alumni search tool, you know who's out there, you know who you might want to chat with. What do you actually do to chat with them, right? So an informational interview is exactly what it sounds, right? It's a short 20 to 30-minute conversation with a professional to gather information, right? We're just trying to get more information about their career path, jobs had, industries they've been in, employers they've had experience with, or even just emerging trends in the field. What we know is that informational interviews are the best way to get up to date information about an industry or a field, right? Like we have lots of great resources available to you through Rackham, through the UCC. And at the end of the day, the folks doing it right now are the best people to talk to because they have their finger on the pulse in that same way. The goal of informational interviews is not to ask for a job, right? While those folks may end up being resources who are helpful in your job search, the goal is just to build connections and gain information. And you don't have to want to know all of these things about someone for them to be a useful informational interview, right? So maybe I'm looking at um LinkedIn and I realized that like Kelly has a very cool job and I want to see the path that she's sort of taken to get there. So I could reach out, send her a message and say like, "Hey, would love to chat more about your journey. It seems like your current role is interesting. I'd love to know how you got there." Right? It's a very personalized of I want to understand this journey and how it went. Maybe I don't actually want to be an event coordinator like Danielle is, but I am interested to hear about what it's like to work at Rackham, right? So I could reach out to her and say, like, "Hey, I'm currently interested in potentially working at Rackham. Could you tell me a little bit more about what your experiences have been like there?" Right? So two different people that I might have more or less questions about specific topics. It's okay to know that you have a specific goal in mind going into those informational interviews. In fact, that is often the most useful and productive way to have those conversations. So once you have decided to have an informational interview with someone, right? How do you actually get it scheduled? So to request, you're going to just be sending a short and sweet 3 sentence message on LinkedIn, on UCAN, or if you can find their email, even better, because people are far more likely to respond to their email. And it's pretty straightforward. First sentence, start with one reason about why you are reaching out to them specifically, right? So I just shared that example of like, "Kelly, it seems like your job is super cool. I'd love to learn more about it." Kelly, I'm just going to keep picking on you. The second one is a sentence about me, right? So I am currently finishing up my doctorate and I'm trying to figure out what my next steps are. I'd love to hear more about your experience. And then the third is to make a time bound request, right? We want to put some time boundary on it. Like, "Hey, do you have a chance to talk for 20 or 30 minutes over Zoom in the next 2 weeks?" If we don't put a time bound request on it, it's just going to go to the ether, right? Because we're all deadline driven. We don't want that to be the most restrictive time bound in the world, right? Of like, "Please let me know 3 times you're available this Friday." Might be a little aggressive when we're doing that outreach, but I think a nice time bounding can be really helpful there. So what that looks like altogether is something like your professional transition from bench scientist to business development at AbbVie is really interesting to me. I'm currently finishing up my PhD in chemistry at the University of Michigan. I'm considering my next steps. Do you have 20 or 30 minutes in the next 2 weeks that we could talk about you and your career path? Right? Short, sweet, straightforward. You do not need to send your resume. You do not need to send a whole narrative. You just need to send that quick request. They may ask for more information later, and that's great, but they're actually more likely to respond with this short, direct, and to the point message. So, we're going to go ahead and say, look at those 2 people that you found from the alumni search. I want you to think about one question you might ask each of them in an informational interview, right? Just one question. Please ask a question that isn't just tell me about yourself and how you got into your job, right? But like something specific. So go back. I'm going to give you another like 4 minutes. So I'm going to give you until 11:35. And I am going to ask folks to, as you think about it, drop one of those questions in the chat so that we can learn from each other and see what sorts of things people are curious about asking. So Rabia has already posted a great option here in the chat. I'll give you another minute or so. Go ahead and post one of your questions in the chat as you feel like you have one that you feel good about. Judgment-free zone. And these are great questions, Rebecca. Like how Michigan supported your transition, the culture of the company, comparison to Michigan, both really good questions. Ooh, love this. I love of what information you're factoring in. This is great. Give me a few other examples. Okay. Well, we'll take the good examples in the chat. Some of the other ones that I really enjoy are things like what has surprised you about this work, or what is a skill you didn't necessarily expect to bring into it. I also love to ask, right, like as I'm just coming into grad school, right, what are some recommendations that you all have of things I could do as I am preparing for my next steps? And then Rebecca also just jumped beat me to my finisher, right? Of my favorite question to ask at the end of any informational interview is there someone else you think I should connect with? And would you be open to helping make that connection, right? So leveraging the network of your network is a great way to build that out. So I think anytime you're having an informational interview with someone, making sure to always end on that question can be really valuable as well. So great examples there. So then also want to mention this, right? As we're thinking about research as a or oh my God, career exploration as a research endeavor. Sorry, y'all. I'm coming off of many, many days of cold beds. We know that research is a secular, iterative process, right? So you're going to define a question, do your research, talk to people, synthesize the findings, and then know what info is missing and start again, right? So I think really viewing this as an ongoing, honestly, like lifelong project. I was just laughing with my friend as we were driving back from the airport of I am 9 months away from defending and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up anymore, right? Like I'm continuing to explore what that looks like. And so seeing how that all comes together is a really important mindset. So it doesn't feel like you are just on a rat race chasing towards it. You have small, manageable goals towards this larger sort of ongoing cycle and process. Something else that we like to highlight for folks is the role that transferable skills can play in guiding your career exploration. So transferable skills are skills that are not necessarily associated with any particular job or task. They can be used in a whole variety of industries, and they're often more connected to things like critical thinking or leadership, communication, analysis. They're those skills that sometimes get called soft skills that are often very, very relevant for folks across a whole host of roles and industries. Um, and so we like to think about transferable skills as just sort of a powerhouse of resources, things that employers are seeking. What we know from data that we get from our employers is that they're looking for things like critical thinking, collaboration, project management, instructional design, program evaluation, data analysis, innovation. I don't know about you. This sounds like grad school to me, right? Like in terms of thinking about collaborative work, in terms of thinking about creativity. If anyone is a GSI, talk about instructional design right there, talk about communication skills. So I think what we know is that during your time at Rackham, you are going to be building a ton of these transferable skills, and it's all about highlighting them and using them to help guide your career exploration. So, um, I want to give you a chance to think about some of your transferable skills that you've already cultivated. So I am going to drop this link in the chat to our transferable skills worksheet. Go ahead and make a copy for yourself. And I want you to think about one or two experiences, probably before grad school, unless you're, again, already in the thick of it, in which case go off, right? But thinking about one or two experiences and the types of skills you have cultivated over the course of that. So the link is in the chat. The link is on the screen. The QR code on the screen will take you to that same link. So lots of great ways to get there. Go ahead and make a copy for yourself. And I'm going to give you until 11:47. I'm going to give you 8 minutes to work on this. So I will be available for any questions that you have. But if not, just going to go ahead and give folks some time to work. Go ahead and take about 2 more minutes working through this reflection. Again, you'll have this resource available that you can look at more afterwards as well. Alrighty, so we're gonna keep moving just for the sake of time, but like I said, you have that resource available to continue playing with. But I'd love to hear from folks. What was that activity like for you? What questions came up? And feel free to drop in the chat or unmute if you're feeling really brave. I'm going to take everyone's silence as they had a great time doing this and it was super useful. Oh, there we go, Rebecca. Yeah, interesting, reassuring. Oh, I love this, right? Activities that I did for fun were still helpful to develop transferable skills. People really sleep on this, right? Those things that you do outside of your quote unquote career planning is still really relevant to building up your skill set, right? So thinking about all of the resources that are available to you. Everything you're doing is networking. Everything you're doing is building transferable skills. That is an ongoing, lifelong endeavor. So really great examples here. And I'm glad that checklist was helpful for you too, Rachel. I think that sometimes it can be hard of where to even start. So we love providing that as a resource for folks. How do we think this might influence your career exploration, right? How are ways that we might use that information from this reflection? So there's a few ways that come to mind from our end, right? One is around the way that you can be looking for transferable skills when you're reading job or internship postings, right? So as you're reading those postings, say like, oh, I see what they're asking for, and I actually have some of these skills. The flip side of that is, oh, I see what they're asking for. This is a type of job I want. Let me try and cultivate some of these skills and using that as a way to make a plan for yourself as well. This is also a great question to ask in informational interviews of what transferable skills have been really useful for you in your role, in your journey, thinking about your transition. So lots of great ways that you can use this information to guide your career exploration over your time at Rackham. Um, and then also want to identify, right? Like we talked about identifying gaps and growth areas. Want to think about how you highlight your transferable skills in your application materials. There's great ways to do that in both resumes and cover letters. Like I said, we've got lots of resources available to help you with that. And then showcase these when networking, right? So don't be afraid to bring up, in Kelly's case, like your volunteer experience, or if you had a student org experience that was really meaningful, maybe it's just like something that you've been doing in your free time that has helped you really build out a skill set. I often talk about the fact that I'm a trained yoga instructor, right? You would think that has almost nothing to do with my work, but in fact, I pull in that teaching and pedagogy stuff all the time in terms of what I'm doing. So, really making sure to not sleep on highlighting your whole broad range of transferable skills when you're networking too. And so, with all this in mind, right, there are going to be a lot of things going on. I think it can feel a little overwhelming, particularly as you're just thinking about gearing up to start grad school too. So, we like to recommend that you make a plan for your career development so that you can give yourself manageable goals, measurable goals, and work towards them. Um, so an IDP is an individual development plan, and this is a structured planning tool that helps you identify long-term career goals, make a plan to improve your skills, set goals for the short term, and structure productive conversations with your mentor, right? So it's really just a roadmap for yourself about how you want to tackle your career development. Um, much like research being an iterative tool, so is an IDP, right? They go hand in hand. But we really think about the life cycle here of start by exploring what's out there, right? Analyzing and reflecting what you see in that exploration and using that analysis to set some goals for yourself and implement the plan. And once you've implemented some of those goals, go ahead and assess how it's going. With the goals that are ongoing, keep doing them. And with the goals that you've completed, go ahead and replace them with some new goals, right? We're constantly thinking about how we want to develop, and we can use the IDP as a very living document for that. Um, I will say that my favorite IDP tool is at a site called Imagine PhD. It is called Imagine PhD. It is super useful for master students too. So I just want to give that caveat, right? But Imagine PhD is an online free tool powered by the Graduate Career Consortium, which is a group of higher ed professionals who are focused on graduate students' career development, right? So exactly what we're talking about today. And it has a really great goal setting app in the website. So highly recommend checking that out. Again, if you can just like put blinders on around the title of the website, I swear it's got some great resources available for you. Yes, I absolutely can. It looks like Kelly already dropped the link in the chat. So thanks for being on that, Kelly. We're gonna skip this just for the sake of time, but yeah, here's that link. Kelly dropped that in the chat. Highly recommend checking it out on your own time too. So I want to give a couple other sort of pro tips and actionable steps you can take as you think about your career development over the course of grad school. The first is to document everything, right? Take notes on everything. Just keep a running list for yourself. Keep notes of the people that you meet, the conferences you attend, collaborations you take part in, skills you acquire, new ideas to follow up on, interesting resources, roles you have filled and might fill. Here's what I'll tell you, friends. It's going to seem really obvious that you did this project or you worked with that person when you're in the thick of it. And when you all of a sudden need to articulate it as you're prepping for a job interview or working on your cover letter or resume, you're going to forget everything you've done. So go ahead and do yourself a favor and just try to document as much as out there, um, in whatever way makes sense for you, right? I have a dear friend who has I'm going to call like lovingly neurotic spreadsheet where she keeps all of this in there. I am a journaling person, so I just sort of keep notes there. It's whatever you need to do, right? But don't forget to document what you've been working on so that you can remember it when it counts and when the time comes. And then we talked about this already, right? But like make career exploration a habit. Regularly schedule yourself once a week, twice a month, time for career development. I think that career exploration as like a whole endeavor can sound really big and overwhelming. Like it's just always there because there's always more you could do. So giving yourself a small, like bite-sized goal of 30 minutes on Friday, every Friday, I'm just going to do some career exploration. And once that 30 minutes is up and I set the timer on my phone, I'm going to move on with my life and do it again next Friday. And I think having that very manageable checklist item is great. And some things that you could do in that, right? Like 30 minutes to identify career resources and events available at U of M. 30 minutes to plug into recent activities into your resume. Again, you could use that 30 minutes to do that ongoing documentation, to skim some job postings on Handshake, to journal about a recent conference, to poke around with the LinkedIn alumni search tool, right? Giving yourself some nice discrete resources of how you might want to leverage that time together will be really important. But again, I think the sooner you can make a habit out of this and just make it a regular part of your weekly routine, it's going to serve you in the long run. I know in the Career Center, we often are talking to folks when they are prepping to apply for internships or prepping to apply for full-time jobs. And they're like, wow, I wish I had started sooner. So go ahead and start sooner, right? Go ahead and just make this a habit for yourself from day one of grad school. And then pro tip number 3, seek help, right? It's never too early to meet with the UCC. You can go to our website at careercenter.umich.edu. Again, that is the QR code to the resource doc that we've already referenced a whole bunch. The link is in there to make an appointment. And there is no limit to the amount of appointments that you can make, right? So go ahead and see us soon. Go ahead and chat early. Happy to provide lots of great resources in that one-on-one coaching as well. I will also say that for almost all of you, your departments have some specialized career departments or career support as well. Go ahead and take advantage of both, right? I often hear from people, oh, should I use the UCC or should I use, for example, the Engineering Career Resource Center? And my answer is always both, right? Like might as well take advantage of every resource that's available. Your folks in your department are be a little bit more specialized in terms of the industry specific knowledge they can give you. We have a ton of sort of wide reaching resources. So the more the better when it comes to thinking about taking advantage of all that is available to you as a graduate student here. And then I would be remiss to not make just like a quick note about Gen AI tools and their utility in career exploration. So many folks use Gen AI tools like UMGPT or ChatGPT for their career exploration and find them very helpful. We always recommend using UMGPT when possible because it has so much higher security protocols on it. But we actually at the UCC have developed this guide. The link is on or the QR code is on the screen. I'll find the link and put it in the chat in just a second. For ways to use AI tools for your career exploration. So you could ask it things like, I'm currently getting my degree in X. What are some careers with people with a master's degree in X often pursue? Can you generate a list of 10 companies in Michigan who hire people with a background in Y skill? Can you help me generate a timeline for what I should be doing with my career development over the course of X years in grad school, right? You can really leverage it a whole bunch of different ways. And if Gen AI is not your thing, great, don't do it. But if it is, go ahead and play around and see what's there. Everyone has their own feelings on it, but just want to mention that this can be a really big resource. And like I said, I'll drop that link in the chat in just a second too. And then again, the UCC is here for you, happy to provide any resources. If you haven't already gotten the resource doc, I will go ahead and bump that in the chat for us too, for everyone who is joining. But would love to see y'all at future programs, would love to see you in coaching appointments, would love to see you taking advantage of the photo booth in the career closet, lots of great things there. And then Rackham has all sorts of amazing resources for you as well. So lots of great opportunities. But folks, I wanted to save a lot of time for questions at the end. That is the end of my prepared slides. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can grab the link for that Gen AI document. Danielle posted an eval survey in the chat. If folks could go ahead and open that up and take a couple of minutes to just fill it out. And while you're doing that, I'm open for any questions if folks want to either use the raise hands feature on Zoom or if they want to drop questions in the chat. So what questions do folks have?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So, when finding a job, would you say for you Michigan alumni, is it easier to find jobs in state or out of state? And if we do want a job out of like Michigan, what steps do you think we should take to achieve that goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is, I think, very easy to find jobs both in state and out of state for Michigan alums, particularly for Rackham alums. So if your goal is to target outside of Michigan, that's totally fine. One of the things that you can do in the LinkedIn alumni search tool that I mentioned earlier is you can also specify by location. So maybe you're trying to target being on the West Coast, being in the DC area, lots of great resources of how you can sort of start to see like, oh, where are alums? You also, this could be a place where you use like UMGBT to say like, hey, looking for companies on the East or West Coast or in the South or whatever that hire from this master's program. Could you give me some resources? Those are great resources that are available as well. And then as a shameless plug, right, like the other recommendation I would make is go ahead and book a job search or a job search coaching appointment, and we can get really in depth with you about a specific plan for your goals with your search.
Okay, great. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I did also drop that Gen AI resource guide link in the chat as well for folks if you were looking for it. What other questions do folks have? Okay. Yeah. So Mohammed, can we get an internship during the year? That is a great question. The answer is it depends on your program expectations. It depends on your advisor. Um, we love when folks do internships in the year or in the summer, but you want to do that in conversation with the faculty and staff in your department, and so they can give you direct insight on what that looks like. I also know for international students, there are some specific requirements about how that internship plays into your overall curriculum as well. So lots of great resources there, but I would say start by talking to the folks in your department. And then, yeah, let's definitely try and get you to an internship so that you can have that practical hands-on experience. And then Nisha, I saw your question too. So there are department focused career fairs, like I mentioned. So the engineering career fair, I know off the top of my head, is the 7th and 8th of September this year. But all sorts of departments are hosting career fairs throughout the year. We don't currently host a specific grad student one separately, but whenever we have our employers register for the job and internship fair, which is those really big fairs I talked about that happen in both fall and winter semester, we do ask them who they're recruiting for, and they will specify if they're also looking for master's students. And so that information is all available on the website and available through Handshake too. Okay, Rabia, great question. When it comes to visa questions specifically, we do say typically start by booking one of the drop-in appointments with the IC, the International Center, because they are going to be the experts about your visa and how that plays in. We are happy to think about your search broadly and how you can frame that for CPT or OPT. But when it comes to the logistics of the visa, we want to be working with the International Center and the great international advisors who are over there. And then sort of on that same note, Nandan, I saw your comment about specific resources. So the UCC actually has two, so like I am embedded over in Rackham. We have two staff members who are embedded with the International Center. So we have two international student career coaches, Rachel and Samaya. They're both absolutely wonderful gems. And they provide one-on-one coaching and programming throughout the year that is targeting specifically the career search and career exploration for international students. So highly recommend you checking out both the programs as well as the one-on-one coaching appointments as well. Mohammed. Oh yeah, and then Danielle also mentioned this in the chat. We have a really great program through Rackham. The Navigating Internships as an international graduate student that'll be on the Rackham events webpage. So highly recommend you hitting that one up as well. Danielle just highlighted that link in the chat. So Mohammed and Muskan sort of are asking like variants on this question, so I'll go ahead and try and tackle both of them together. When should you start applying for internships for the summer? The short answer is it kind of depends on your industry, right? So there are a lot of industries who are already posting internships for next summer. So I would say get on Handshake sooner rather than later and see what is out there. Some internships hire well into winter semester for their summer internships. Some are locked in by September, right? So I think really you have to figure it out based off of your specific industry. But all of that is to say, the sooner that you can whip your resume and cover letter into shape, the better. And we do have a whole bunch of resources to get those really set up well. We'll have a couple resume labs for master students that will be having the first couple weeks of the semester so that you can really make sure that everything is bright and shiny. Because like I said, many folks are already recruiting for their summer interns. As an international student specifically, right, because you'll have that additional CPT requirement to get through, I think the sooner that you can secure an internship, the better, so that you can then also get your CPT qualifications in. One of the things that we do collect information on for the registration for the job and internship fair is, are folks willing to sponsor CPT or OPT? So if that's something that you're looking for, we flag that specifically at the job and internship fair, which will, again, will be at the very beginning of September. Let me pull up the actual date because I should know that, but it's not at the top of my head right now. Yeah, so the job and internship fair will be the 15th and 16th of September. And I will drop the link for the career fairs in the chat as well. And this link also posts all of the specific fairs that we know about too. So there's lots, this is a good place to go for career fair information. Hey, Bryant, great question. Yes, you can absolutely use the LinkedIn search tool as a resource to review on your own time. And Handshake is a specific job search platform. All of that information will be in that resource document that we have posted a few times in the chat. And I will post one more time. Good questions, y'all. Anything else? Well, please take a second to also fill out that assessment feedback form that Danielle posted in the chat if you haven't yet. I'll go ahead and bump that survey as well for you. So it's right here at the top of the chat. But I appreciate all of you and would love to see you at future experiences with Rackham, with the UCC. You're up for an exciting adventure and we want to provide lots of support. And then Kelly, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, just want to say thank you so much, Anna, for coming and presenting for Grad School 101. Thanks to Danielle for coordinating everything, recording all that good stuff. And thanks to everyone for attending. Be sure to go check out the other Grad School 101 like resources in Canvas, and like there's lots of workshops coming up. So make sure you're signing up for those and then just reach out to us if you have questions.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.